Scarlet Witch is infamously unstable. It has resulted in the end of the line for multiple heroes on multiple different occasions. More on that later. Her tendency to lose it caused the Avengers and X-Men to come together to think of ways to deal with her. Some, including Xavier, even suggesting they put her somewhere she cannot do harm. Somewhere like the afterlife, for example. As you can imagine, it didn't sit very well with her when her brother Quicksilver told her about this and urged her to take action against it. Wanda used her reality warping chaos magic powers to rewrite reality to the House of M. A reality where mutants outnumbered humans, where a few heroes had what they wanted most to stop them from rebellion, and Magneto was the ultimate ruler. As for Wanda herself, she had one body that acted as her in public, while she could remain with her children, again in private. Number 9. Undead Horde. In the comic books, mutants have always had many different places to call home. One of the more long-lasting recent ones would be the island of Krakoa. It was a place where mutants felt safe, and no one but mutants had entry. Fortunately, Scarlet Witch is a mutant. Feeling regret for an action that will be much higher on this list, Wanda wanted to make up for her horrible mistakes by resurrecting all the mutants who met their end in Genosha at the hands of Cassandra Nova. Only, thanks to the fact that she can't seem to ever fix anything without actually doing a whole lot of damage, the deceased mutants were actually brought back as zombies. A whole army of mutant zombies invaded Krakoa, and it took the direct intervention from Doctor Strange to fix the problem. That becomes a bit of a theme for Wanda and Stephen Strange. Number 8. She led the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Switching realities for a moment to the reality of Earth 1610, or the Ultimate Universe. On this Earth, just like on the 616 Earth, Wanda and her brother Quicksilver were part of Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. But with the apparent departure of Magneto from his mortal coil, Wanda took leadership of the villainous group of mutants and gave them a bit of a rebranding. She wasn't all bad here, as she did keep in contact and sometimes work with Charles Xavier, whose opinions she respected while still believing that mutants were the superior species. Although a great leader, she still met her demise when a version of Ultron would fall in love with her, realize they could never be together, and then use a special bullet to take her out. Yeesh. Number 7. Black Magic. Boggles my mind that given the track record of black magic users, people still seem to try and go that route, thinking it will be different for them. Wanda herself has a sticky history with black magic, possession, and evil dark deities, like Chthon for example. Another example would present itself in Avengers number 75 in 1970. After losing her powers, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and the mutant Toad go to seek out a way for her to gain them back. They stumble upon a dark magic book, and super intelligently give it a read. A spell in this book allowed an extra-dimensional being by the name of Archon the Magnificent, Lord of Warlords, to teleport to Earth and kidnap her to be his bride. Oh, and he also was going to use nuclear boom booms to try and attack the world. The Avengers saved her and the world, but this led directly to Wanda's run-in with Chthon. Again, why do people decide to use black magic at all? I don't get it. Number 6. Morality Switch. Sometimes when Marvel wants to incorporate a cool idea for a comic series, they gotta come up with some awesome and elaborate ways to make it happen. It's half the fun of comics. A merging of Red Skull and the incredibly powerful Onslaught unleashed a huge Avengers and X-Men level threat called Red Onslaught on Genosha. Scarlet Witch and Doctor Doom combined forces to perform a spell that would switch the axis of morality inside Red Onslaught's mind to make him good and end the conflict. Honestly, a pretty genius idea. Only things went a little whack, and instead of switching the morality of just Red Onslaught, she switched the moralities of every single person on Genosha at the time. So everyone. Every villain became a good guy and every hero became bad. It was honestly pretty cool, but yet another time Wanda messed up a spell and affected everyone. Number 5. Namor and Atlantis. As a member of the Avengers, when the very serious and long-awaited Avengers vs. X-Men event took place, Wanda remained on the side of her crime-fighting friends. A main cause of this event was the return of the Phoenix Force, which was unintentionally split among 5 members of the X-Men. The Phoenix Five went after Scarlet Witch, which is fair, considering the crazy things she has done to cause the mutant community a whole heck of a lot of grief in the past. After one of the Phoenix hosts, Namor the Submariner, lost in his fight to Scarlet Witch, he went and attacked Wakanda. He was so close to winning too. Too bad Wanda showed up yet again and used her powers to completely wreck him, saying, "Go away," and bursting him into shards like he was a delicate piece of china. She then subdued the whole of Atlantis too. Yeah, she's pretty scary. Number 4. Magically made her children. Now before you get upset, giving birth is not evil at all. I mean, the kids could be a pain in your backside, and if they're the type to throw tantrums, then I mean it's everyone's problem at that point, but overall, they're a miracle. Problems arise though when 1. You have children against your partner's wishes, 2. They aren't actually real, and most importantly, number 3, you use black magic to make them. Yes, you see, when Scarlet Witch became an Avenger and fell in love with the android Vision, they got married, and even though he was against it, Wanda used her magical abilities with some manipulation from Mephisto to make herself pregnant. Something an android is obviously incapable of. The magic pregnancy gave birth to twins, who were then taken and absorbed by Mephisto. Eventually, the real essence of these twins transferred to become 2 real heroes, Speed and Wiccan, who are both very, very powerful heroes currently. Number 3. Hawkeye and Ant-Man. As we know at this point, the Avengers have had to tackle the Scarlet Witch on multiple occasions, but she remained a member and a loyal one at that. After Wanda had gained a powerful new chaos magic from Chthon, she was a little bit more unstable than before. And after the children she had lost and forgotten about, an unintentional remark by fellow Avenger the Wasp mentioning her kids drove her over the edge. And her chaos magic was unleashed, and she went bananas on the Avengers, really giving it to them. This directly led to the de-lifing of the now Wanda-crazed Vision by She-Hulk, an illusion of a Kree invasion, a fake team of Avengers to protect Wanda, and not to mention the end of the line for both Hawkeye and Ant-Man. This is one of those incidents that led directly to the House of M event. Number 2. Took out her entire family. Remember when Scarlet Witch reversed the morality of pretty much everyone? Well, it wasn't the only bad thing that came out of that moment from our favorite unstable magic user. After the moralities had been switched, Wanda wanted revenge on Dr. Doom for all the things he's done to her in the past, like when he manipulated her after she lost her memory into being his bride for his own power-hungry wants and desires. Understandable stuff like that. Her idea as more of a villain was to just go to Latveria and stop him breathing. Magneto and Quicksilver, her father and brother, did not want her to go down this path and tried to stop her. But being the dangerously unstable person she already is, she angrily and impulsively cast a spell that would end the life of anyone related to her by blood. Quicksilver dropped on the spot, instantly felled, but Magneto, to Wanda's surprise, remained. And that's how she and a lot of us found out Magneto is not actually Wanda's father. Oh, also she ended her brother's life, so yeah, that's kind of extremely evil. And coming in at number 1, it's M-Day. Alright, the other big one. So we know that in the House of M story, Scarlet Witch altered reality in some rather big ways, but it wasn't as if everything before this didn't happen, just no one could remember it. One mutant by the name of Layla Miller, for example, could remember the reality before, and she used her powers to restore the memories of a bunch of other heroes. Another mutant, who you might know of by the name of Wolverine, could sense that something was wrong with this reality. He and a few other heroes, including a resurrected Hawkeye, formed up into a team to put things back to normal. Seeing as Magneto was now the ruler of the world, it made sense to them that he was responsible, and they went to attack. During the scuffle, Magneto had his memories returned to him by Layla, and Wanda convinced him it was Quicksilver who urged her to do the whole reality warping thing. Angrily confronting Quicksilver, who admitted that he would have let Wanda perish, Magneto made him perish. Wanda, thoroughly angry and unstable yet again, revived her brother, yelled at her non-father, denounced Xavier, and in 3 words, no more mutants, she reverted reality and depowered 90% of the entire mutant population, resulting in a huge loss of life. All this on the day forever known as M-Day. What a great time. Number 10. He gives up fighting the Hulk to let him sick the Illuminati. One of the Hulk's most awesome and powerful moments came in the World War Hulk story, when the Incredible Hulk gathered up his warbound on Sakaar and headed to Earth for some much desired revenge on the Illuminati. The Illuminati had tricked Hulk, banished him into space, left him stranded on a world where he was forced to become a gladiator and work his way to become king, and then the ship they sent him there on self-destructed and caused the passing of tons of people he cared about. So yes, the Illuminati deserved what was coming to them, but they still tried to put up a fight. When Hulk arrived on Earth more mad than he has ever been, there were only two people who ever had a chance of bringing him down. The first was the incredibly powerful Sentry, and the second was Ghost Rider. When Ghost Rider showed up and started fighting, the Hulk decided to try and squash him like a bug, quote unquote. Only problem was, now that he had knocked out Johnny Blaze, Zarathos was allowed to take a bit more control, and he attacked back with so much hellfire the two got to an almost stalemate. The not so bad thing that we're talking about though is when Zarathos, who only punishes the guilty, sees that Hulk is truly innocent in this situation. So he betrays the Illuminati and basically allows the Hulk to go ahead with his destruction. Honestly, kind of awesome. I wasn't even upset. Let's find some better examples. But before I do that, do you like anime as well as comics? Well, luckily for you, now we have a full channel completely dedicated to nerdy videos about specifically anime and manga. Go check out Amazing Top 10 Anime. Let's just move on. Number 9. Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch. Yet again, I can't really say I blame Johnny Blaze all too much for this one, but still. When Danny Ketch became a new Ghost Rider after Johnny had imprisoned Zarathos in an amulet, Johnny was more than a little suspicious. Johnny Blaze traveled from the west coast to confront this new Ghost Rider, thinking that Zarathos had returned somehow. Blaze hunted down Danny Ketch Ghost Rider and tried to take his life multiple times while Ghost Rider kept attempting to escape Blaze and bring the villain Blackout, who was dispatching multiple people, to justice. Johnny kept this up until he finally watched Ghost Rider save a child in Central Park. This finally made him become less suspicious of Ghost Rider, and he stopped trying to take him out repeatedly. He instead decided to observe Daniel to make sure that he wasn't Zarathos, and he taught Daniel how to fight and protect himself when he wasn't transformed into Ghost Rider. So ultimately he made up for it, but still a little impulsive with the old de-lifing there, Johnny. Might want to tone that down. Number 8. Alejandra Jones, Hellfire Exploded a Country. Alright, buckle up because this one involves Adam. Not me, like the biblical Adam. In Marvel Comics, Adam has devoted himself to one day eradicating sin from mankind, at any cost, even human souls. To that end, Adam took in orphan children and trained them within a Nicaraguan temple to make them perfect as hosts of the Ghost Rider. Now, with the Fear Itself event and the arrival of the Serpent, Adam decided this was a sign to make his move and offered to free Johnny Blaze from the Ghost Rider. Adam awakened the Seeker and had him pick the new Ghost Rider among those students that he was training. Alejandra Jones was the one chosen and was immediately sent to battle Scotty, who was one of the Serpent's avatars. Now when she came back, Adam demanded that she destroy the sin in the other orphans, which would leave them as husks. She obviously refused, but in return, Adam enslaved her. Now Johnny Blaze, realizing he made a boo-boo, journeyed to Nicaragua to stop them, but Adam turned Alejandra's power into a bomb that went off, taking away the sin from the Nicaraguans, turning them into mindless emotional shells of the individuals they once were. The only ones unaffected by this blast were Johnny and the Seeker. Basically, Alejandra was used to destroy the whole country of Nicaragua. Number 7. Beat Up Angel. So back in the Avengers Volume 1, issue number 214, Johnny Blaze and the Avengers come into conflict. Johnny was hanging out on some rocks in New Mexico, brooding and hating on the world for everyone who abandons him, when all of a sudden, Warren Worthington III comes zooming down the road in a Ferrari with a girl in the passenger seat. Johnny seems to get really jealous and decides to scare the hell out of the couple, causing Warren to crash the car. Johnny then challenges Warren to a race. Now to be fair, Warren gets a good punch in on Johnny, but that just makes the Ghost Rider use his hellfire to burn Warren's soul and put him into a coma. Kind of really overdoing it there, Ghosty. Thor, Tigra, Iron Man, and Captain America head to the area of the incident to take on the Ghost Rider, only for him to give them much more of a fight than they probably expected. Number 6. Killing Starseed. There was a time in the 70s when Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider joined up with the team known as the Legion of Monsters. While not entirely bad, some of the characters here were monsters, and they did indeed give in to their monster tendencies. One such moment would come in Marvel Premiere number 28 in 1975, when a seemingly peaceful alien from a highly advanced race came and plopped a mountain down in California. It caused a bunch of earthquakes which attracted the Monster Legion, and thanks to Morbius and Werewolf by Night who gave in to their hunger, they attacked the alien. Now admittedly the Ghost Rider tried to intervene, but they still, as a group, caused the passing of Starseed, and he even helped them to get back their non-monstrous forms. So it was kind of rude. Number 5. Robbie and Ellie. So this one's a little murky. Robbie Reyes is the current Ghost Rider, and he's great. He's super interesting. His car is hella cool. I just find him to be a smidge bit more evil than his other counterparts, and that's because when Robbie Reyes becomes Ghost Rider, he is not a spirit of vengeance. Robbie is instead possessed by a ghost of a guy named Eli. Now it is revealed in all new Ghost Rider number 8 in 2014 that Eli was not a spirit of vengeance like Johnny Blaze's Zarathos, but instead Eli is Robbie's uncle and a satanic serial de-lifer who took the lives of and dismembered at least 37 people in rituals before he was finally taken out by the police in 1999. And he lived in the house that the Reyes brothers, Gabe and Robbie, took to living in. So while Robbie himself isn't necessarily a bad dude, not entirely, the alter ego he now lives with is indeed quite evil, and they constantly have to do mental battle for Robbie to stay in control and not completely give in to Eli's bloodlust. That's a no for me. I don't know. Number 4. Power Obsessed. Ghost Rider Danny Ketch was an interesting one for sure. His spirit of vengeance happened to actually be an ancestor of both him and Johnny Blaze named Noble Kale, who became a spirit of vengeance. In Danny Ketch Ghost Rider number 2, Danny gets the spirit exorcised from him, but instead of doing him good, he went a little bonkers, craving the spirit's power like some kind of addiction. He tried to set himself on fire in Times Square to get the power back. That's how crazy he went. He ended up hanging out in bars, fighting other people just for fun. Yeah, sounds like a blast. But in a turn of events, he was fed doses of the Ghost Rider power, feeding his addiction. Then he began hunting down the other Ghost Riders and Verminous Rex, taking him down and absorbing a whole bunch of Ghost Rider souls and quote-unquote overdosing on the power. The Archangel Zadkiel intervened and saved him, but made Danny one of his knights, hunting down other spirits of vengeance, which led him after Johnny Blaze and saw Danny convince a young man, Lucas Collier, to end his own life. So yeah, he's kind of absolutely horrible. Number 3. Throwing his brother off a bridge. Speaking of Danny Ketch, he is actually the brother of Johnny Blaze. In the beginning of Ghost Rider Volume 9, Johnny Blaze was the king of hell, something that happened in Damnation after Johnny's soul was sent to hell and he convinced Zarathos to help him in a journey to usurp Mephisto's throne. Either way, Johnny Blaze began capturing demons roaming the earth. He tried to recruit the help of his brother, Danny, but Ketch refused and tried to convince Johnny that his position as the king of hell was corrupting his soul. Blaze didn't seem to like that too much, and so he very unceremoniously stripped Ketch of his spirit of vengeance and threw him off the Manhattan Bridge. Nothing like stealing your brother's power and throwing him off a bridge, am I right? Luckily though for Danny, he got saved from drowning by caretaker Sarah, but this is like the 4th time Johnny has just gone way overboard, or over bridge. I'm just gonna stop. Number 2. Johnny hires Cosmic Ghost Rider. In an alternate future when Thanos was attacking the Earth and going on his mad conquest, Frank Castle was killed and sent to hell. While down there, he made a deal with Mephisto to gain the spirit of vengeance and defeat Thanos. The only problem is, when he came back, he was too late and Thanos had taken the lives of everyone on Earth. So he roamed the Earth totally alone and it drove him insane. Castle made a deal with Galactus to gain the power Cosmic in exchange for the Earth. So now, it's Frank Castle with the spirit of vengeance and the power Cosmic. Yes, it is as cool as it sounds, but him going bonkers has made things much more interesting. Unfortunately, he actually goes on to sort of join Thanos in his quest. A lot of stuff happens with the baby and adult Thanos, but basically, in Earth 616, Johnny Blaze is the king of hell, forces this Cosmic Ghost Rider to attack the Avengers in Avengers Volume 8 number 24, and forces Robbie Reyes into a race for Robbie's power, threatening the life of Robbie's brother Gabe. So yeah, this is Johnny being a jerk again, hiring an insanely powerful Cosmic Ghost Rider to de-life the Avengers. Luckily it doesn't turn out that way. And in at number 1 is Cosmic Ghost Rider. But the question is, why would Johnny Blaze make Cosmic Ghost Rider go after the Avengers? And what's so wrong with that? Well, you see, Cosmic Ghost Rider in his quest against Thanos actually joined up with Thanos, like I said before. And then he went back in time to try and raise a baby Thanos to be a better Mad Titan. As in, like less death obsessed. This brought him into direct conflict with an alternate Guardians of the Galaxy led by Cable. Now when the fight finally starts, Cosmic Ghost Rider is trying to shield baby Thanos from the violence, so he hands the baby over to Uatu the Watcher and starts going to town on these Guardians. The only problem is Cable keeps using his time traveling abilities to bring back more and more heroes to take on this Cosmic Ghost Rider. By my counting, the insane Frank Castle Cosmic Ghost Rider took the lives of about 41 different time-displaced superpowered beings. And when he was finally overwhelmed, he had failed completely because he was saved by the baby Thanos, who took out the remaining heroes. And then a Punisher-dressed Thanos from the future shows up calling Frank dad. I don't know, it's insane. Just go read it.
Starting off at number 10, he destroyed Johannesburg. With many comic book stories to pick from, these events can get a little confusing. To start off the list, we go back now to the events of Avengers Age of Ultron, released back in 2015. Now, before Wanda Maximoff was an Avenger, she was getting some dirty work done to help Ultron. Okay, this included playing mind games with the Avengers. So Wanda gets to Banner and he hulks out big time. This time it's very uncontrollable. Now at this point in the MCU, the Hulk has a handle on his Hulk mode, kind of, like he's got it down. After Avengers 1, he was like, I'm always angry, and then he's like standing in the circle with them. He knows what he's doing to some degree, and with the help of Black Widow, she can tippity tap his palm and make him chill out. Black Widow was out of commish this time due to the same mind trick from Wanda, so he ends up going crazy in Johannesburg, and it takes Iron Man and his new Veronica #Hulkbuster armor to come in and knock some sense into him, literally. Now, of course, Wanda was in his head, but none of the other Avengers reacted this way. They just went to places in their mind that brought them a lot of distraught, and they couldn't even fight anymore. They were leveled. So, the Hulk made matters worse, of course, resorting to punching and being, well, a monster. Number 9. He broke Las Vegas. The Hulk was assisting S.H.I.E.L.D. on a mission to clear out some Hydra weapons in the Vegas desert, and after a gamma bomb blew up in his face, he becomes this dark, menacing gray Hulk and begins to terrorize Vegas. The Fantastic Four's Thing comes to help, telling Johnny Storm that monsters understand monsters. Pretty valid point. So Ben goes up to Banner and lays it down. He explains that he knows he doesn't want to hurt anybody else and that he's just messed up, that's all. He continues to offer to help Banner, treatment for the radiation gamma even. And then Hulk responds with, she's dead. Betty Banner is dead and you can't do anything about it. You killed her. And then, bah, he goes crazy. So the people in Vegas see this monster battle happening on the news and they love it? Yeah, they start placing bets. Some guy's like, $50 on the Hulk. Another guy's like, $50,000 on the Hulk. It's wild. Check out Fantastic Four issue 533 for yourself to see how the Green Giant got through that. Number 8, he left the Avengers. Okay, again, we go back to Age of Ultron. So after the final battle on Sokovia, the Hulk decides to just leave. He hops in the Quinjet after tossing Ultron out and decides to just let it keep flying. He ended up going pretty far considering we don't see him at all during the Civil War storyline. It's not until Thor Ragnarok that we meet Banner again, and he has no idea where he is or how long he's been there. Without the help of Black Widow, he can't transform back into his regular, nice Banner body. I have to include this because this is a decision the Hulk made, not Banner. There's a difference. He himself decided that he was just gonna go. Maybe he was done with hurting people. It's actually a massive character arc that people didn't really look into enough. Like everybody came out of the theater like, whoa, Vision and Wanda, can't believe it. Scepter was actually no way, dude. Hey guys, where's the Hulk? Where did he go? That's the Hulk. Of course he came to the aid in Thor Ragnarok, but maybe if he hadn't gone at all, he wouldn't have fought Thanos when he did, huh? Therefore not losing and becoming unable to get mean and green come Infinity War when we really needed a Hulk. He could have figured it out on Earth. I mean, he figures out the perfect balance by Endgame, so I feel like if he just stuck around, he would have gotten to that point faster. Also, don't leave the Avengers, man. You need the science bros, always. Number 7. Madison Square Up Garden. This next one is pretty wild. So Thor Ragnarok was loosely based off of the Planet Hulk storyline. I say loosely because that story didn't end up going so well. Like the comic book story didn't end well. So on Sakaar, the rocket that he arrived in ended up blowing to smithereens, causing some casualties that left Hulk a little distraught. So what did he do? He heads back to Earth, pissed, and thus begins the World War Hulk storyline. He just murks everybody, all the heroes that Earth has come to love, just in the path of this very angry beast. It's not a good situation. He locks the Illuminati in Madison Square Garden and then makes them fight to the death. I mean, Once you spend enough time on Sakaar, I guess it becomes second nature to just battle it out. In the first issue of this series, you see Iron Man in his Hulkbuster armor, and he uses repulsors to accelerate his punch, which is something Iron Man can be seen doing in the MCU. I like when they keep small details like that make these series memorable and awesome, especially the artwork. It looks really cool, and then they insert those into the MCU version of that story. See, even Hulk's design on Sakaar, they really wanted to treat the audience with the same elements that we loved already from the comic book. So make sure if you haven't already to grab all 5 issues of the 2007 World War Hulk storyline, because it's actually a treat and you can plow through it in like a day. Number 6, Old Man Logan. Now, we were all delighted to see an R-rated Wolverine story finally on the big screen with the release of Logan back in 2017. This was loosely based on the story Old Man Logan, written by Mark Millar and Steve McNiven. The film had Logan in the spotlight alongside Charles Xavier and Caliban, and is one of my favorite movies ever. Not even superhero movies, like just as a movie in general. Hugh Jackman is chef's kiss, so good. But in the comics, the story has moments that are even darker than what we saw, believe it or not. Like how about a Hulk gang, for starters? That's right, so in this storyline we find the Hulk as one of the few remaining superheroes on Earth. Now at this point, Banner had decided to breed with somebody like him. Maybe just a little bit too much like him. Like, I don't know, say, his cousin? Yeah, his cousin. So him and Jennifer Walters had an offspring and referred to them all as Hulk Gang, which is a sick nickname for your little ones. Now, if you think that's already twisted and wild, the Hulk gang actually killed Logan's family. Why? Well, they were bored, of course. What else do you do when you're bored? Do you watch these videos, or do you just murder Wolverine's family? Today you did the right choice. So Wolverine went to exchange a few words with the man, of course, and Hulk ended up swallowing Wolverine whole. What a jerk. Don't worry though, Wolverine used his claws to get out in a rather messy way, killing Papa Banner in the process. Number 5, Statue of Liability. We go now to the Incredible Hulk issue 299. So after the Avengers and everybody decided, hey, the Hulk can finally control himself, let's all be nice, let's give him a statue, reward the man. He earned it. Earth's mightiest hero, we love this guy. Yeah, he's on lunchboxes, so nice. Then in comes the villain Nightmare to ruin the day for the rest of us. So he taps into Banner's subconscious and makes him resort back to the monstrous, uncontrollable ways that he used to be. Again, kind of like when Wanda was messing with his brain in Age of Ultron. So he grabs the statue that was made for him and then just hucks it at Thor. That's hilarious. Like, hey, happy birthday, thanks. Ugh. The Hulk even beats up Banner's girlfriend named Kate Waynesboro, not to be confused with the Waynes brothers. So next time you give your friend with anger problems a statue, just make sure they can't throw it at you. And number 4, train problems. Have you ever been commuting to work and you think, oh, what's taking so damn long? Why isn't this train going anywhere? Well, in a world where these beasts exist in real life, the usual traffic jam would have most civilians' palms sweating. Like if the Avengers were real today, like in our world, I'd be afraid all the time. There's so many villains, so many problems all the time. Like if I heard a balloon pop in the other room, I'd be like, is it Loki? Are we good? Am I dust? What's going on? Is it happening again, please? So in the Incredible Hulk 122, Hulk has a moment where he kind of ruins an entire locomotive, yeah. He was annoyed by the sound of a passing train and does his version of a rope workout, you know, when those like guys get in the thing and they flick it? He does that, but with a train track. Causes all the cars to fly in the air, like that tablecloth trick, except when your like nephew does it and he doesn't know how to do it yet, so they all just fly off. No passengers were on the train, sure, but I mean, making it rain sidecars, I'm sure that's not the easiest thing to clean up. Number 3, Joe Not Fix-It. The Grey Hulk, aka Joe Fix-It, is one of my favorite versions of the Hulk. He's like this bouncer in Vegas, and he reminds me of a security guard that I actually used to work with in a bar. His name's Tony. He was awesome. He was like this big, old guy. He's amazing. So naturally, I like this Hulk a lot. The next point made me like him even more. He's a savage. A savage! So he sees his ex-girlfriend, Marlo Chandler, being attacked by a werewolf. So what does this giant, unstoppable monster do upon seeing this? He just stares and considers letting her get mauled. I mean, maybe he's jealous, maybe he's a little bit, I don't know. But I mean, Joe Fix-It is this tough, I don't give a shit kind of guy. I mean, come on, this is a pretty dark character arc. A little bit too much, Mr. Joe Fix-It. And number 2, Killed Tigra. Okay, yeah, this one goes pretty dark. We go now to the 1995 comic titled The Last Avengers Story. Now at this point, most of our loved heroes have gotten old and retired. Either that or they've died in battle. Not much is happening in terms of super support. So in the first issue, we find the Hulk in, of course, a fit of rage. Classic. And at one point, he gets his green mitts on Tigra and oh baby, that's a position you don't want to be involved in. Tigra jumps in like, yeah, we're a team, haha, the Hulk, I can just claw his eyes out as easily as anybody else. And then Banner grabs her and says, hey, make a wish, and pulls her apart, like one of those holiday finger popper snapper things where you go, yikes, make a wish. Who says that? This guy's messed. And finally, number 1, Hungry Hungry Hulk. To end this list, I thought it was fair to pick the 2002 to 2004 run of the Ultimates, where Hulk is, of course, a cannibal. Mark Miller and Brian Hitch wrote this thing so well that I actually want to see this version on screen more than like any of the latter. So after becoming the Grey Hulk, he ended up eating a bunch of people. He even encounters Iron Man and says the line, little man smells like canned meat. Hulk want to know if he tastes like canned meat too. Like, if he said that to me, I would my super suit. I would be like, no, I'm not dealing with this guy. You guys do it. Like, imagine if he said this in the movies. The entire theater would just sit up like, is he about to eat Tony Stank? So since the Grey Hulk incident, he's been locked up, rightfully so. But after Magneto attacks the Ultimates base, they lose power for a little. So during that time, Hulk decides the 6 nursing staff members near him served as a tasty treat. And down the hatch they went. Yum.
At number 10 is the Extremis 3.0 virus in Superior Iron Man. So you know Scarlet Witch, right? She accidentally messed with everybody's heads, swapping the good guys and bad guys' moral codes, which caused all kinds of chaos with the superheroes committing crimes, and folks like Carnage hilariously failing to be good. Now Iron Man got hit with this ray, but being the evil mastermind that he's now become, he managed to maintain his evil persona when everybody else got reverted, and kept all his evil streaks under wraps. Then in 2015, Stark introduced this game-changing app, Extremis 3.0, in San Francisco. This app is like a total, I don't even know if you could call it an app. It's basically a makeover for your physical appearance in real life, allowing folks to appear in real life however they saw fit, and people were hyped. But wait for it, Stark actually went full schemer mode, and he gave everybody a taste of the goods, and then he dropped the bombshell. Hey, this is actually gonna be $99.99 per day to use this. Kind of a sneaky move. But it gets worse. Stark even gave Daredevil brain damage to prevent him from revealing this evil secret. I mean, that's kind of messed up. At number 9 is kidnapping Ulysses. We'll get into the OG Civil War in a moment, but for now, let's break down the events of Civil War II. It's all because there's this dude named Ulysses Kane who suddenly gets the power to predict what's gonna happen in the future. Captain Marvel and her gang think they should use this power to stop crimes before they happen, but Iron Man is not into that. So what's he do? He straight up kidnaps Ulysses. Now hold up, Iron Man thought he was doing the right thing, but it set off a huge fight between him and Captain Marvel's crew. They're at each other's throats about free will and destiny and stuff. Even if you kind of see where Iron Man was coming from, his way of handling things caused a heck of a lot of trouble. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing that notification bell. Next up on our list is faking his own funeral. In 1983's Iron Man number 169, Tony Stark battled a big problem: substance use. His drinking got so bad that he handed over his suit to his friend Jim's Rhodey Rhodes, letting him take over the Iron Man role. Then things got even wilder in Iron Man 284 when it looked like Tony bit the dust and Rhodey took over as the head of Stark Enterprises. But here's the kicker: Tony wasn't actually unalived. He faked it. He secretly put himself on ice, healing while everybody thought he was gone for good. When Rhodey found out, it was like a punch to the gut. Imagine think your buddy is gone forever only to learn they've been hiding out. Trust took a nosedive. Rhodey felt stabbed in the back because Tony kept him in the dark about being alive and kicking. At number 7, in cahoots with Kang. Back in 95, in a storyline called The Crossing, Tony Stark, our Iron Man, went rogue big time. He dropped the bombshell revealing he'd been secretly teaming up with Kang this entire time. Things got messy. Iron Man then took out some Avengers, like he actually ended the lives of Yellow Jacket and Gilgamesh. So to fix this crazy situation, the Avengers did some time traveling shenanigans and they fetched a younger Tony Stark to fight his older corrupted self. It was an intense showdown with the older Stark almost wiping out his younger version, but ultimately the old one sacrificed himself, paving the way for the younger one to step up as the new Iron Man. Now Marvel later retconned the story, saying it was actually Immortus pretending to be Kang, and then they merged the older and younger Starks together, trying to sweep this whole mess under the rug, and just acting like fans were gonna forget the whole thing happened, but I didn't. At number 6 is Civil War, as promised. Tony really stirred the pot with this one. So here's the lowdown. Imagine the governments want all the superheroes to sign up officially like a job application. Captain America, the symbol of freedom, was like, no way. But Iron Man was like, Sure thing, bureaucrat buddies. Now picture this. Iron Man leads a team that captures rebellious heroes who refuse to sign up and basically sends them to superhero prison. He even pressured Spider-Man to reveal his true identity to the world, which is a big deal in the superhero biz. Spidey later had to fix it by making a sketchy deal with Mephisto that wiped away MJ's entire relationship with him, kind of like they did in the movies. Anyways, but the real kicker here was that Iron Man made a fake Thor clone that ended up squashing Goliath, a fellow hero. By the end, Iron Man seemed more like the bad guy than the hero of this event. The Civil War was a total disaster. At number 5, he exiled the Hulk. Back in 2006, Iron Man was part of a group called the Illuminati. They decided it was a solid plan to send the Hulk off into space because, well, Hulk has a habit of wrecking stuff. They tricked him into thinking he was headed to an uninhabited planet, but surprise, he ended up on a different planet, became a big shot ruler there, and then the entire planet went kaboom. Iron Man was one of the masterminds behind this. Now the Hulk got real angry about being manipulated, and when he eventually came back to Earth, he was all about payback. Real mess, and it was all Iron Man's doing. At number 4 is Armor Wars. In 87, a big kerfuffle unfolded in the Iron Man comic series known as Armor Wars when Tony Stark found out that baddies had swiped his armor blueprints. Fearing that the bad guys might misuse his tech, Stark went on a hunt. He targeted anyone using similar power suits and wrecked the Stark tech in their gear. But things got messy real quick. He kicked this off by attacking Stingray, a dude backed by the government. That ticked off the US government, making them order Stark to shut down Iron Man. So Stark had to fire himself as Iron Man. But he didn't stop there. He duked it out with S.H.I.E.L.D., even tangled with Captain America, then going by Captain. Yeah, not even fellow heroes were safe from his rampage. At number 3 is all of Stark Industries. Tony made a lot of money by creating weapons that ended up causing harm and chaos. He was even directly responsible for hurting a lot of people. Now in the movies, they showed this cool story where he gets injured by his own weapons and then decides to stop making them. But in the original comics, things went down a bit differently. See, in the comics, Stark didn't stop making weapons right after he got his whole beam. No, he kept at it for a while, even after the Vietnam War ended. He did stop at times, but then he went back onto it later on. So even though he tried to redeem himself by being Iron Man, he still had a past where he made loads of money from that stuff that hurt others. This is a big deal, considering that he made his fortune from things that caused so much harm. At number 2 is Steel Corpse. So there was this crazy crossover scenario from the Age of X comics where Iron Man goes from hero to, well, pretty terrible dude. In this alternate reality, Tony Stark is infected by a virus which merges his suit with his physical body. That's when things start to go south real quick, as he becomes the Steel Corpse, this mutant hunting evil version of himself. Now here's the kicker. When he eventually tries to change his ways and stop hurting all these mutants, his suit actually turns against him, because, you know, he can't really distinguish himself from it. The suit starts taking mutants out on his own, and Tony's totally freaked out. Ultimately, he even begs Captain America to put an end to him because he's just completely lost control. Now, what's super messed up is that this attempt at redemption comes way too late. Iron Man, or whatever you want to call him in this grim reality, was way beyond saving at that point. It's a dark twist for a character we usually see as a hero. So, shows you how things can go haywire in alternate realities, huh? Speaking of which, at number 1 is Emperor Stark. This alternate Tony was elected Emperor of the planet Earth for life, making him quite literally the most powerful person on Earth. Although from the outside, it may seem like this reluctant hero was given the mantle with a heavy and humble heart, in reality, it was Tony's plan all along to assume dominance as the undisputed monarch of Earth, as he engineered the very threats that forced the world to yield their power over to him. First, he secretly orchestrated the mutant war simply in an attempt to thin out the world's superhuman population, with Captain America and Mr. Fantastic among the defeated and deceased. So after betraying his race and secretly helping the mutants win the war for the promise of co-dominating the planet alongside Magneto, he then went and betrayed Magneto too, making this double-crossing double-crosser the hero of the conflict. But according to Tony, soldiers don't make good leaders. So his ascension to power truly began during the Great Famine, when a powerful virus, which was secretly developed by Stark Industries, not unlike the mad cow disease, left most animals unfit for human consumption. And within a year of the outbreak, a new strain of fungal rot, also secretly developed by Stark, devastated half the world's wheat population and millions of lives were lost to famine. Until Tony came out a year later with vaccines and countermeasures that would earn him a Nobel Prize and eventually lead to his presidential candidacy after winning the election by a landslide with the highest popular and electoral vote in history. And once he developed the tech to control weather and seismic activity to cause natural disasters of biblical proportions while simultaneously pulling some strings to cause some economic collapse, he got the other nations of the world to yield their power to him voluntarily. In the end, all he had to do was stage a battle with Dr. Doom, which completely leveled Washington, D.C., wiping from the face of the earth nearly every federally elected representative, the entire Supreme Court, and along with them, America's democratic system, making Evil Tony here one of the most formidable beings to ever dominate the world. Oh, right, and I guess his cape ain't too shabby either. He's got this cool Dr. Doom looking outfit, so I mean, that might redeem him a little bit, but all the rest of the stuff, definitely not.
Number 10, Civil War I. Oh boy, the first Civil War caused a great uproar and a good deal of problems in the superhero community. It also made Earth vulnerable to attack, as it evidently involved just infighting. When superheroes turn on each other, that's bad. When two main superheroes who are part of the same team turn on each other, that's ridiculous. And that's exactly what happened with Civil War I. While the inciting incident that divided heroes wasn't caused by Iron Man or Captain America, and actually was pretty serious, they both had become leaders of two different approaches for how to best resolve that main issue. Iron Man believed that superhuman beings needed a shorter and tighter leash basically, and should work with the government so they could kind of be overseen. Number 9, Axis. Axis was an event where we saw heroes and villains sort of do kind of like a role reversal. This happened as a result of a spell backfiring, cast by, well, you probably guessed it, none other than Scarlet Witch. Wanda, for being a powerful magic user, has kind of a challenging time with magic. Although, to be fair, she actually wasn't the only caster involved here, although she is the one that we often talk about. Doctor Strange started casting with her, and when he got taken out, Dr. Doom actually helped in his stead. So Doom is also possibly to blame as well, even though Wanda usually takes a lot of the flack for this one. What launched the Axis event was Wanda and Doom attempting to cast a spell on the evolved and supremely powerful version of Red Skull, Red Onslaught, which sort of came about when Magneto was like, I know how to fix this, I'll kill you, and then Red Onslaught happened, so it didn't work out so great. The spell actually succeeded, but kind of backfired in that many other heroes and villains within a certain radius also got hit with the spell unintentionally. Oops. And friends, if you are loving what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, may I recommend that you check out our latest channel, Most Amazing Top 10 Anime. Number 8, Hydra Cap. Hydra Cap is definitely a pretty bad thing that happened for the Avengers in many regards. One, Hydra Captain America is literally another version of Captain America who for a while we actually thought was the main continuity version for real. So we're not off to a great start with that. Number 2, the Avengers failed to stop Hydra Supreme Cap from taking over the US. Number 3, some of the Avengers were even manipulated into joining Hydra and Hydra Cap's forces. Some of them were actually like possessed, and some of them were just kind of made to do so. All around, it was just a rough time and not a great look for the Avengers overall. I'm actually surprised there isn't more pushback from the public today as a result of this one. Number 7, Iron Man joins Kang. Yeesh, the crossing. What a weird crossover event. Every time I think I'm over it, we come up with a list topic where I kind of can't help but like return to it. In this event, Iron Man, one of the main Avengers, was revealed to be secretly one of the baddest of the bad, as we learned that Iron Man had actually been working for Kang, or rather Kang's Immortus version, for years. That's right, it turns out that Iron Man is actually a sleeper agent for Kang, or he was. He kind of still is, because he kind of got reconciled into one being, but it's still the old Iron Man. Anyways, as weird as it sounds, this was actually an even worse weirdness than Captain America working for Hydra in my mind. At least that made more sense to me. Iron Man would fight against the Avengers, and when they struggled to defeat him, they called in a past version of himself for him to beat and almost kill. Number 6, Final Fight. When the Earth was threatened by incursions during the events of Time Runs Out, what did the Avengers do? Save the day? Try to stop those incursions? Not exactly. Captain America had once been a member of the Illuminati, the secret group of heroes who banded together to resolve ideally all of Earth's problems without anyone actually even knowing. A group of superpowered intellectual, philosophical, and moral geniuses. At least That's what they thought. When the incursions were discovered to be a threat, and the majority of the group felt that it was important to consider the possibility that they'd maybe need to destroy other worlds to sort of save themselves from it, Captain America fought vehemently against that idea. As such, his mind was wiped and he was decidedly ejected from the group. When he regained his memories, rather than use the Avengers to fight against the incursions and find a way to stop them, he actually spent the last bit of time before the multiverse was to end hunting down the Illuminati and in a toe-to-toe battle with Iron Man. Number 5. Create the Illuminati. Sometimes it only takes one Avenger to mess up everything for all of us. And that's kind of what happened when Tony Stark, aka Iron Man of the Avengers, decided to bring together the secret superhero group known as the Illuminati. Like I said, this wasn't the combined effort of the Avengers, but when you think about the Avengers now and even before, Tony has been a staple of that team for a very long time. And the Illuminati was really his genius idea. His genius idea. The Illuminati as a group have definitely caused more trouble than they're worth, causing a lot more problems in the cosmos than they've actually solved. Playing a key role in the end of the multiverse during Time Runs Out when they couldn't save the world, helping to cause Secret Invasion and World War Hulk as well. So yeah. Number 4. Civil War II. Even worse by far than Civil War I was its follow-up, Civil War II. In this story, we got more infighting, but for less logical reasons. This time, it was Iron Man versus Captain Marvel, because I guess Iron Man just really needs to like duke it out with all the captains. This one is one we can also likely more blame on the behind the scenes, as Marvel was definitely aiming to capitalize on Civil War I's success with this follow-up, but it just didn't work out too well because Civil War II didn't really make a lot of sense for most readers. But in terms of the canon, Carol, I think, was hands down to blame here for just being, well, unreasonably aggressive on the matter that was up for debate. Whether or not to let Inhuman Ulysses, a precog, predict the future and then based on those predictions stop future criminals from committing future crimes before of course they even happen. Yeah, and I say that as a Captain Marvel fan. I'm a big Carol Danvers fan, but this one was pretty one-sided in my mind. Even I am like, I think Carol was wrong and Tony was right, and I don't say that very often. Number 3. Avengers Disassembled. Avengers Disassembled was a story arc where the Avengers essentially imploded. What had really happened was Wanda had learned of the secret being kept from her, that she'd had fake children, which she'd in essence kinda made, who had been taken from her and then wiped from her mind by Agatha Harkness. Now, Wanda didn't like that too much, and in essence turned against Agatha, killing her before turning on her friends and colleagues, causing them to lose control, attack one another, and sicking reality warped versions basically of like Vision and Dead Avengers on them. Not only did the Avengers hurt one another, but they were made to do so by one of their own, and likely were even somewhat responsible for Wanda getting to a point where she decided to turn on them. So really, who's to blame here? Is it Wanda or is it the Avengers? Or is it kind of everybody? Number 2. Ignoring Scarlet Witch. Avengers Disassembled was bad, but likely what was worse was that it kind of could all have been avoided if the rest of the team had simply, I don't know, cared more about their teammate and friend, Wanda. Scarlet Witch had a lot happen to her, and although this is of course superhero comics where every day that you're alive there's a threat of trauma or, you know, of the world ending, or both, there had been many signs that Wanda was not in a good place. Rather than do something about it or, you know, attempt to, I don't know, get her help, mainly the Avengers just went on as though everything was fine. I mean, I know they all each have a lot individually going on, but come on guys, if you have someone with reality warping powers on your team and they are using those powers to create fake children which then disappear without a trace after they also lose their life partner thanks to them basically being taken apart, mind wiped, and rebuilt as a blank slate without emotion, you might think to offer them some help, or, you know, at least check in to see like if they need anything, if they need a hug or a conversation. I'm not blaming them for what Wanda did, but I would at least like to hold them accountable for being pretty much awful friends to her in her time of need. Number 1. No more mutants. Probably one of the worst things that at least one of the Avengers did was to threaten all of the mutant kind's existence with just, you know, a few words. Although admittedly, this wasn't so much Wanda's fault as it was Marvel's, who of course needed some reason to get rid of mutants for a bit because, you know, they'd sold the rights away and they weren't really profiting as much from comics involving mutants at that time, and they simply had too many of them. But reasoning behind the story aside, during House of M, Wanda in the end struck out at all mutants because her father, she felt, was more obsessed with fighting for mutant rights than he was with his actual own flesh and blood family. Although we'd later learn that Scarlet Witch and her brother Quicksilver weren't even really like flesh and blood family. To begin with, part of the reason that Wanda suffered the mental break, which caused House of M and later M-Day, had to do with the fact that her friends in Avengers didn't seem to notice or perhaps care that Wanda was suffering as a result of losing her children. And in fact, let us not forget that Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, of the Avengers, was also the one who even kind of like caused Wanda to remember her kids to begin with. She kind of spilled those beans. So whose fault was M-Day really in the end? It was still Wanda's. Wanda was the one that said the words, so it's still her fault. But Janet was there. Number 10. Kills. One of the worst things about Wolverine in general, but also maybe one of the best things, is that he kills. Or more now that he's willing to kill, I guess. Although back in the day, he really did kill pretty indiscriminately. And like I said, it was basically what made him one of the worst, while also being the best at what he does. Although, as Wolverine has even said himself, what he does isn't usually very nice. Now Wolverine is more reserved to maiming those he comes up against, only really killing those who he feels really deserve it, who are beyond redemption. But even then, the fact that Wolverine thinks he gets to decide those folks' fate could be seen as, well, pretty problematic. I mean, Wolverine's a pretty good dude all around, but I still don't think, even as a hero, that he should get the judgment call on who lives and who dies. You know what I mean? It definitely makes him a way more complex and interesting character. I will say that, so it is good in that way. Number 9. Almost killed an innocent. During his first long-running Wolverine series, Wolverine at one point must face off against Lady Deathstrike. The first time around that this happens in the series is back in the past, after Wolverine has seemingly traveled back in time via a picture. It makes a lot more sense if you read the story, but it's basically what happens. While attempting to escape Lady Deathstrike and defeat the German World War II soldiers who have infiltrated the part of Spain Wolverine is in, he and the rebels are faced with the decision of what to do with a young prisoner who has seen too much and could cause them to be captured if he's forced to talk. Prisoner's name is Jamie, by the way. I didn't write that down, but I know that, just in case you're wondering. One of the options on the table is to simply take out the prisoner Jamie, but because of his age, Wolverine ultimately helps to let the boy go and set him free. However, for a small moment there, it is implied that Wolverine has basically made the other choice and decided to kill the prisoner rather than let him walk free, with a promise that he won't tell anyone what he has seen or heard about where the rebels are headed. It's a very shocking moment where you're like, wait, did that just happen? Don't worry, it didn't happen. Oh, it only almost happened. The notion was entertained, and that I think is still pretty bad. Number 8. Relationship with Squirrel Girl. Wolverine's relationship with Squirrel Girl, as was established in New Avengers, might be considered by some to be one of the worst things he's ever done, or that was ever done to him as a character, I guess. This is likely because Squirrel Girl, aka Doreen Green, is often depicted as being from a different generation entirely than Wolverine, and that's not even considering that he's actually even older than he appears, and then the generation that he first appeared in. Squirrel Girl and Wolverine were implied to have had a romantic relationship in the 2010 New Avengers series in issue number 7, and many consider it to be pretty odd. And I gotta say, the way it's also kind of weirdly like shoehorned in there, you're like, what? Why is this in here? What purpose narratively does this really give us? And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists about Wolverine, then be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Goodness knows he's done a lot of bad things. Even Wolverine would say that though. He'd be like, I got a lot of things in my closet. I got a lot of skeletons in my closet, bub. Number 7. Killed Jean Grey. Wolverine has done this on multiple occasions, and in one instance, kinda killed Jean on repeat, stuck on a loop of death after she refused to stay dead thanks to the resurrection powers of the Phoenix Force. Initially, Wolverine killed Jean out of mercy to save her from a gruesome death, burning up as they were in a space shuttle that was rapidly getting closer and closer to the sun. However, this death was actually quite helpful, as it allowed Jean to at least regenerate, unlocking her full potential as the Phoenix, which meant that she could actually then save them, so yay! And surprisingly, she also wasn't even mad about Wolverine killing her. Bonus! I'd be pretty mad, to be honest. It'd be like, wow, you just killed me. That's pretty shady, man. But I guess when you're like, but you unlocked my full potential, it's like, well, alright. Shortly thereafter, Jean would be killed permanently by Magneto, but years later would return again, only to have Wolverine, afraid of the potential of Dark Phoenix, along with the rest of the X-Men, kill her on repeat for a while by stabbing her through with his claws until he realized this wasn't exactly having the same effect that he'd hoped, as the Phoenix Force basically just kept rezzing Jean, so it doesn't always work out. Still, that's a lot of Jean deaths. That is, I think, at least 9 Jean deaths total. I think 8 stabbies the one time, 1 stabby the other time. A lot of deaths. A lot of deaths without any actual death, actually, now that I think about it. Number 6. Got even with the Punisher. So the Punisher has done some pretty heinous things to Wolverine over the years in their ongoing fight for who can be the most edgy. This has less to do with Wolverine and Punisher feuding within the comics, and more to do with shots being fired between a few of their passionate writers, Wolverine's Frank Thierry and Punisher's Garth Ennis. Now granted, Thierry has also written a few Punisher titles in his time, although I don't think Ennis has ever written a Wolverine titled book, at least not as far as I know, which is surprising to me. But anyways, I digress. In Thierry's 2003 issue of Wolverine, issue 186, Thierry ended up aiming to get revenge on the Punisher for what Garth Ennis had him do in 2002 during his Marvel Knights run on Punisher in issue number 17. Ennis had Punisher brutally attack and maim Wolverine, basically, even going so far as to steamroll him, and some other things, which I don't know if I can even say on YouTube, but they were bad. To get revenge, Thierry had Wolverine imply the Punisher was gay. Doesn't sound so bad until you read it and you see how it's presented, with Logan implying the Punisher is basically lesser or less of a man or a hero because of his possible sexual orientation. Yikes. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't write that. It's unfortunate because now that's also on Wolverine as a character. Eek. Number 5. Actually killed innocents. Other than Jamie, who Wolverine seemingly almost had killed but then ultimately did not have killed, and the countless other baddies that Wolverine has faced and defeated over the years, there are also other youngsters that Wolverine has been forced to take down. One of the worst moments where Wolverine has been forced to eliminate a youth happens actually outside of the main continuity in the Ultimate Universe, the reality of Earth 1610. Here, Wolverine is sent on a mission to do the X-Men's dirty work by taking out a young mutant who threatens the very rights mutants are basically fighting for. The sad part, it really isn't this kid's fault. His mutant power simply manifested without him knowing and caused him to accidentally vaporize the entire residents of his town, including seemingly his high school crush or his girlfriend or sweetheart and his parents. So really feels pretty bad, and you're like, wow, Wolverine, really, wow, that's what you're doing? But he's like, hey, I gotta protect the mutants or something by killing a mutant or something. Seems a little shady, the reasoning there. Number 4. Became Apocalypse. Of course, this one also did not happen in the main continuity, but hey, it still happened, so it still counts. This all went down in Age of Apocalypse, where Wolverine, here known as Weapon X, would fight against Apocalypse for most of his life. At one point, he was part of Magneto's X-Men, but would leave them to rescue Jean Grey, his love, and later his wife, and fight alongside her against Apocalypse in their own way. Eventually, however, Jean was believed to have been killed and Weapon X would become a recluse, only to find out years later that she was actually alive. Dun dun dun. When the Celestials returned to Earth following the death of Apocalypse, James Howlett offered himself to the Celestials in order to prevent the destruction of Earth. However, this caused him to become the very villain he had hated the most, as the Celestials used tech to modify him, giving him great power but basically warping his mind, and causing him to become Apocalypse's heir, known as Weapon Omega. He was basically just like, evolution is what it's all about, baby. People were like, but don't you see? You're Apocalypse now. And he's like, but it's different. I'm trying to save people by killing people. Wait a minute, maybe you're right. Number 3. Killed the Mongrels. These last few spots are definitely all competitors for the number 1 spot on this list in my opinion. This one is especially bad because the Mongrels were actually Wolverine's children, although he didn't know it at the time that he was forced to fight them. They were rounded up by his known son with Itsu, Daken. Daken was working with the Red Right Hand, a group who had a personal vendetta against Wolverine. Daken created the team known as the Mongrels, not even really to defeat Wolverine, despite Daken having trained them himself. It was kind of like a win-win situation for him. Either Wolverine would be killed by the children he didn't know or had forgotten he'd sired over the years, or Wolverine would end up killing them all. The latter was kind of how it went down, and when Wolverine learned that the members of the Mongrels had actually all been his children, and he didn't know that, he was pretty heartbroken. So I guess point 1 for Red Right Hand and Daken. Only sad points for Wolverine. No points for the Mongrels because they died. Number 2. Made moves on MJ. So this one is so awful, it of course cannot come from the main canon of Earth 616. Instead, this point comes to us from the alternate reality of Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimate Universe. After Wolverine had She attempted to get back at him by making him telepathically swap bodies with the person he hated the most, which ended up being Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. Although Jean later says, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know this would happen to you, Peter. Oops." But anyways, while swapped, both heroes struggle to deal with the everyday while occupying each other's bodies. However, Wolverine still manages to find some time to put some moves on MJ. Well, they don't seal the deal. This is really messed up because Mary Jane at this point in time is a teenager and she didn't even know that Peter and Logan had swapped bodies, so she thought that it was just Peter looking for some action instead of the super old at this point thanks to his healing factor X-Men hero Wolverine. Although not a very heroic moment here, Wolverine. What you doing? Don't do that. Number 1. Kill Daken. I think one of the worst things you can do as a parent is to kill those you're supposed to be looking out for and taking care of and protecting, even if your son happens to be the often villainous Daken, now commonly referred to by his actual birth/human name, Akihiro. At one point, Wolverine was forced to put down Akihiro during a fight. Akihiro had held a grudge against his old man for years, having been trained by Romulus to hate Logan after being stolen from his mother's womb and raised by Romulus. For years, Wolverine thought his son was dead, not knowing to come searching for Akihiro. But Akihiro was raised to believe he was basically abandoned, and he also grew up in a household where people didn't like him because he was half Japanese and half Canadian, so that was another issue. Thanks to some plotting from the devious and diabolical mind of Victor Creed, aka Wolverine's nemesis Sabretooth, Wolverine was forced into a death match with Daken, a match that ended with Wolverine killing Akihiro, drowning him in a puddle, while sadly thinking of what could have been had Akihiro been given a chance at a semi-normal life, being raised by Wolverine and of course his now deceased mother Itsu. What would it have been like if their life had been happy? We'll never know because he gets drowned in a puddle.